Prediction. Punishment. Transportation. Variation.
Closing.
Teamwork. Monetary. Diseases. Recommendation. Board. Movements. Synthetic. Productivity. Climate. Observations. Academic. Globe. Consistently.
Technician.
Social. Manipulation. Galaxy. Distinctive. Very. Million. Individual. Objects. Philosophical. Originally. Boat.
Predictability. Randomly. Trajectory. Offspring. Cautionary.
Dinosaurs.
Eventually. Concentration. Encounter. Colleagues. Seemingly. Reverting. Deliberately. overseas, double, implications, broadcast, droplets, exploring, identities, conversion, processing, managers, survive, approach, crises, Japanese, complementary, basically,
For all his fame and celebration, William Shakespeare remains a mysterious figure with regards to personal history. There are just two primary sources for information on the bard: his works, and various legal and church documents that have survived from Elizabethan times. Naturally, there are many gaps in this body of information, which tells us little about Shakespeare the man.
As with all human behavior, there are numerous reasons for it. But often it's caused by someone who feels the need to show their superiority over someone else, in order to feel that they aren't at the lowest level in hierarchy or a group of people. In some cases, one person simply dislikes the other, on the basis that the personality of one is in some way incompatible with that of the other person.
Those of you who've never heard the term Neo-Latin may be forgiven for thinking it's a new South American dance craze. If you're puzzled when I tell you it has something to do with the language of Romans, take heart. Over the years, many classes who have confessed they're not really sure what it is either. Some have assumed that they're so-called late Latin, written at the end of the Roman Empire. For the first time, Japanese researchers have conducted a real-life experiment that shows how some traffic jams appear for no apparent reason. They placed the 22 vehicles on a single track, and asked the drivers cruise around at a constant speed of 30 km an hour. At first, traffic moves smoothly, but soon, the distance between cars started to vary and vehicles clumped together at one point on the track, but the jams spread backward around the track, like a shockwave at a rate of about 20 km an hour. Real-life jams move backward at about the same speed. The effect of the first difference is, on the one hand, to refine and enlarge the public views, by passing them through the medium of a chosen body of citizens, whose wisdom may best discern the true interests of their country, and whose patriotism and love of justice will be least likely to sacrifice it to temporary or partial considerations.
Adults, therefore, can act as supporters and coaches, facilitators and models of creativity for children. But on the other hand, adults also have the potential to stifle opportunities for creativity by being overly didactic or prescriptive. They can limit creativity by discouraging fantasy or by having low expectations about what young children are able to achieve.
Schools and classrooms are highly complex organizations. They are sites where there are a multitude of actions and reactions, inputs and processes, variable and changing environments, and differing local, regional and national expected learning outcomes, targets and outputs. The formula for success is never simple, partly as success is diversely defined and understood, and partly as perceived effectiveness varies across person, administration, region and time. The chapter now proceeds to consider those classroom contexts where the home language of students is developed. We first consider the importance of and issues related to home language development in schools. Next we discuss the challenges bilingual students may face in monolingual schools, and ways such schools can still provide scaffolding and bilingual supports. We then turn to the specific context of bilingual immersion and the features and strategies used in these classrooms. Before we conclude, we consider a range of key topics for effective bilingual schools in general.
Well, in 2004 we integrated ticketing in southeast Queensland, so we introduced a paper ticket that allowed you to travel across all the three modes in southeast Queensland. So bus, train and ferry, and the second stage of integrated ticketing is the introduction of a smart card, and the smart card will enable people to store value, so to put value on the card, and then to use the card for traveling around the system.
Also, malaria is something that is a very complex disease with this complex life cycle. That means that if you're going to eliminate it, you have to be able to target cute parasites and humans. You have to be able to target parasites in the mosquitoes, that mosquito population. And so that requires a lot of resources. It requires really good planning in the health system across all these different levels. And so I think the political capital that you need for that, the educational infrastructure you need for that, the economic resources you need for that are quite a challenge.
Lead-in time is the amount of time that elapses between a business placing an order with a supplier for more stock or raw materials and the delivery of the goods to the business. Businesses want the lead-in time to be as short as possible, so that they can meet their customer orders and minimize the time between paying for the stock and receiving the revenue from the customer. However, this may not happen due to a number of factors, such as delays in the supplier receiving the order, or the breakdown of the supplier's lorries deliver the stock to the business.
As with all human behavior, there are numerous reasons for it. But often it's caused by someone who feels the need to show their superiority over someone else, in order to feel that they aren't at the lowest level in hierarchy or a group of people. In some cases, one person simply dislikes the other, on the basis that the personality of one is in some way incompatible with that of the other person.
Financial markets swung wildly yesterday in the frenzied trading market by further selling of equities and fears about an unraveling of the global carry trade at the same time. Trading in the US and European credit markets were exceptionally heavy for a third consecutive day. London trading was marked by particularly wild swings in the prices of credit derivatives, used to insure investors against corporate defaults.
For all his fame and celebration, William Shakespeare remains a mysterious figure with regards to personal history. There are just two primary sources for information on the bard: his works, and various legal and church documents that have survived from Elizabethan times. Naturally, there are many gaps in this body of information, which tells us little about Shakespeare the man.
Close to the idea of two or more languages being used for instruction is the concept of language across the curriculum. In all content areas, students learn skills, knowledge, understanding, concepts and attitudes mostly through language. Thus, every curriculum area develops language competence. All subject areas, from music to mathematics.
Note-taking techniques are effective on both paper and digital platforms.
Control systems in manufacturing require a high level of accuracy. Supply and demand is one of the most fundamental factors in academic economics. The same issue featured both explanations of the problem.
Tours operate all year round, but the busiest dry season runs from May. Mutually exclusive events can be described either complementary or opposite. The Commissioner will portion a fund among the authorities. The massive accumulation of data is converted into a communicable argument.
The plight of wildlife has been ignored by many developers. The summer course has been cancelled due to insufficient enrollment. When workers ask for higher wages, the companies often raise prices.